Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you will be here very soon if you like what you see and hear. We so often have, I guess it sounds like just sort of a whining session. We're in terrible times in this country. I do like to sometimes give suggestions about what we can do at home, what our strategy can be. I love the input, and sometimes I like to do good news if it means that we are legitimately, connecting the dots for information that is valuable. And I think when we start seeing some successes, however small they are, if there's any sort of takeaways that we can find, if there's any good news, or just to kind of keep this stuff and mull it around in our head so that if there's a pattern that continues, we can start making sense of it. And that helps us devise a strategy. I wish the Democratic leadership were as consistent with this on a day-to-day basis rather than Chuck Schumer's position of, oh, we'll just take care of it in the midterms, run a bunch of ads right beforehand. But I want to look at some recent uh, election results that matter. First of all, Joni Ernst has decided, we hear that she is not going to run for re-election next year for the United States Senate from Iowa. Remember, she was the one who said, everybody dies sometime. And I think that was instructive to her that perhaps her time is over, that she was going to have a rough time getting reelected, that even though Iowa seems like it's a safe red state, it may not be. We have Chuck Grassley saying he'll run again. He'll be like 900 years old. So I expect that maybe that won't be happening after all, and that would also be an opportunity for Democrats. So can a United States Senate seat from Iowa be an opportunity for Democrats? All right, let's look at what happened this last week in Iowa. Caitlin Dray, she was a Democrat running for the state Senate in District 1. She flipped a seemingly safe red seat to blue. The Democrat won in the Senate seat that Trump won by like plus 11. And Caitlin Dray won by at least 10 points. That is significant. See, these are the types of things that Joanie Ernst is looking at, thinking, might not be an easy walk for a treasonous, lying, MAGA Republican United States Senator like her. So anyway, then we saw a few months before that in January in another Senate district in Iowa, the Democrat again flipped a red seat blue. And it was again by some of those same margins. It was a seat, an area that Trump won really bigly, you might say. So something is happening in Iowa. All right. I think that is significant because Iowa, we always say what play in Peoria. All right. I'm from Peoria originally. And that's because you look at some of these Midwestern areas as being about as quintessential regular America as you can get. Now, that was maybe back in the days. I worked for Bob Michael, who wouldn't be allowed in the Republican Party anymore. So it was different then. The country was, maybe 80% of the country was slightly right of center to slightly left of center. There was a time when I very easily could have worked for a conservative Democrat in Congress as opposed to a Republican. And those far right-wing evangelicals that are now MAGA were just on the fringes. And I do believe that cable news and talk radio and things like that gave them more of a voice because that was drama and conflict, and that meant ratings and money. So yeah, I'm blaming the media. We should. But we did it. We helped create all of this dynamic. But Iowa is a pretty, the people are pretty rock solid. I spent some time there. I ran a congressional race in the primary in 1988 before I headed out to Maryland. This was when I was young and I'd been on Capitol Hill, and then I got trained in the political aspect of it. And then went to the American Campaign Academy, which is 10-week boot camp that actually, Newt Gingrich and the Republicans are paying for because he was trying to build a majority, become speaker. So then, I packed up my old Mustang hatchback and sublet my Capitol Hill apartment and drove out to Iowa to do this. When you're young, you can do that. I got to know the people there pretty well. And they reminded me of the people I grew up with in Peoria. Just kind of, not stupid, but now they have gone, I guess, to the stupid MAGA side. All right. as too many have done in this country. But maybe what we're seeing now with these 2 Senate wins, and now Joni Ernst is, she's probably done some quiet internal polling that shows that there may be a trend in Iowa. I always talk about the business term Bayesian updating. If you want to know what the company's going to do, look what they've always done. Well, same with politicians. And if they start acting like, maybe I should be doing something else in life, it means they're backing out. If they don't get an easy win, they're not gonna stick around. And Chuck Grassley sticking around might just be, Mother Nature, because he's again closing in on, I think, 100 years old. So that's what's going on in Iowa. Now, here's what else is interesting, and I really, really like this. Now, we also saw, remember Elon Musk putting all that money into that Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, and Democrats won it, even though Elon, all this money, that was significant. An important swing state, Wisconsin. So that was telling. And again, I'm not grasping at straws, and I don't want to blow this up to be bigger than it is, but I do think that, let's remember this stuff. This might start becoming important later on, which is why I'm bringing it up now. So we just kind of keep this in the back of our minds, keep it in your notes, so that we can start detecting some patterns. There was a Pennsylvania Senate seat, the same thing in March, that Democrats flipped from red to blue. So, okay, is this a wave? No. It's not a wave, but these are the special elections and the things that are coming out where Democrats are winning big in heavy Trump areas. So now these are, you can say, well, okay, if Democrats always won and Trump won, maybe these are the areas where he cheated in. We know this, like he did this like in places in New York State where, you had the Democrat senator running for reelection, winning by great margins, and in certain counties or precincts, Kamala Harris got 0. No. So of course there was cheating. But this isn't that. These are traditionally red areas. So it's not, these are traditionally red areas where Trump also won big. And now Democrats are winning big. And I think it's because of Trump. Trump is dragging down his whole party. He knows he can't win the midterms fair and square, which is why he's cheating with gerrymandering. And he's also positioning himself to be able to, bring in his personal thug militia and do what he can to thwart elections. And this isn't new with him. Remember, he was impeached. Just find me 11,000 votes. He's a cheater. He cheats at elections. We know this. We know that Republicans wanted to keep people from being able to give someone a bottled water if they're standing in line for a long time to vote, after they closed the polling areas in heavily Democratic and Black areas, also pulling out the mailboxes out of the ground and just trying to do everything they could to make it harder to vote. It's called cheating. And so we also have, North Carolina, Tom Tillis is retiring. Alabama's Tommy Tuberville is leaving the Senate. Mitch McConnell, of course, is leaving. He's like a weekend at Bernie's situation right now anyway. And now in Tennessee, we've got Marsha Blackburn, who just got reelected to her seat. She wouldn't be up again until her term runs out in 2030, but she's running for governor. That is probably a very safe red situation, sadly. Bag of hair, Marsha Blackburn is running in the primary now. She does have primary opposition, but it looks like, when you look at the recent numbers, that she's going to win big. This is Tennessee, which means that depending when if she were to win the governor's race, she would be the one, depending on the date that she would resign from her Senate seat in order to be sworn in as governor. Either she would be the one to appoint her own successor, or the current governor would appoint her successor. But either way, it's going to be a Republican. That said, it means that there's a chance that she's leaving the Senate. Unfortunately, she would be governor of Tennessee. But that's a little bit of a tougher, higher climb for Democrats to do anything there in Tennessee. Some of these other places, I don't know. Again, None of this stuff is definitive. None of it shows rock solid trends, but it does show some good news that could be a trend. So it's important to keep that in mind to look at what they're doing right. But we've seen this now in Iowa. So we have these 2 state Senate seats that have flipped from red to blue in special elections, really seemingly safe blue Senate seats that Trump overwhelmingly won those areas, and they're getting flipped. And then you look at Joanie Ernst's recent gaffes, if you can call them gaffes. No, she just let people die. I mean, she's just these MAGA ghouls in Congress don't even know how to defend Trump anymore. They kind of take on his arrogance. They think he can be flippant, he can lie, he can be an idiot, he can show complete disregard for human beings. And so Joanie Ernst goes and does the same thing, and it didn't work out very well for her. And I think that that is what's led to her decision to not run for reelection. And she's actually kind of making, I don't know if it's been an official announcement yet, but it's being reported. Seems kind of late in the game for her to be doing this, which indicates that, yeah, she's looking at what's happening, at least in Iowa. So looking for trends. Again, these other things, I don't know how much they mean, but we know in Iowa something is happening. So we should probably take a look and really watch Iowa carefully and start studying the numbers there and the polling. And I don't know, see what Democrats are doing right and what's working. Because I think that Iowa is similar to Illinois, similar to Peoria. And if it plays in Peoria, as they say, it'll play elsewhere. I mean, seriously, and Peoria is like that. And I grew up like that, just basic all-American, I mean, they used to come to our school and test potential new breakfast cereal on us kids. And, I knew that was one of those kids where, if I like it, that means probably 80% of the population is going to like it. So I thought I was really contributing to society. If there was a cereal that I liked, because I knew everybody else would too. I mean, I knew we weren't, so weird and different and interesting. But that's why I'm interested in Iowa. And again, we might have even kind of blown by these state Senate wins a little bit. Still been happy about them, but the fact that Joanie Ernst, sounds like she's not going to run is a direct result of that. That tells me that other polling that she has, whatever is happening, that have flipped these 2 state Senate seats from red to blue, she's got something other than just, oh, this happened, so I think I won't run. There's something else. She's got internal numbers that we will never hear about, but something there. She's got other information, and so that does make me happy. So we'll have to look for some of these trends and see if we can figure out exactly what's going on, if we can get it right. I don't know if we can trust the national Democratic leadership to do anything about it. But, they aren't the only ones that have impact. We've known for a long time that we have to bring this kind of down to we the people. And that's why we have to be smart. We have to be part of the strategy. We have to figure out some of this stuff on our own, using the tools that we have, because our national leadership has they seem to be kind of letting us down in a lot of areas. I hate to say that, but I'll be looking at kind of the spending and everything else. Very interested. Like I said, I did run a primary congressional campaign in Iowa. Got to know the people a little bit, and I'd like to think that if there's a solid trend there, we're not saying it's a solid trend yet, but as I said, something's making Joanie Ernst extremely nervous. See if we can do that and clone it, replicate it. So anyway, it's just I thought it was a little bit of good news, and every once in a while it's nice to pop up here on YouTube with good news, right? And then I'm not trying to be Pollyannish, and I'll never blow smoke up your bloomers or anything like that. But if there's something good to report and we can get something out of it, we can learn from it, count me in.